We live in an era that worships a very specific, very dangerous myth, the myth of radical authenticity. You are told, constantly and from every direction, that to be powerful, you must be entirely visible. That you must share your journey, voice your struggles, and let the world see your process in real time. Society begs you to open the doors to your mind under the guise of connection and vulnerability. But society does not actually want your connection. It wants your predictability. It wants you to reveal your internal architecture so that you can be easily mapped, comfortably categorized, and effortlessly managed. The moment you place your inner workings on display, you are no longer a sovereign agent. You become a known variable in someone else's equation. Most people walk into this trap willingly, eagerly trading their permanent strategic leverage for the fleeting, hollow warmth of social validation. They hemorrhage their power in casual conversations, in the desperate pursuit of being understood, entirely unaware that being completely disarmed is the exact same thing as being completely disarmed. Machiavelli observed this fatal human instinct centuries ago. While the masses treated their private thoughts and evolving plans as incidental chatter, he recognized that the deliberate management of what you withhold is the fundamental mechanism of survival. He understood a brutal truth that most people will die without ever grasping. True power does not come from the words you speak or the bold actions you display. It stems from the structural advantages you strategically choose to bury and never speak of again. To announce a structural advantage before you have fully deployed it is the only thing more foolish than never having one at all. There are 7 specific categories of information, 7 hidden rooms in your mind that must be sealed. Exposing any one of them permanently diminishes you. And the first of these secrets is perhaps the most difficult to keep, because it goes against every natural, ego-driven impulse you possess. Never reveal who you are in the process of becoming. Right now, if you are truly ambitious, something beneath the surface of your life is shifting. You are reading, you are calculating, you are practicing a new discipline in the quiet hours when nobody is watching. You are slowly and irreversibly becoming more than what the people around you have calculated you to be. The instinct, the very human, deeply self-defeating instinct is to announce this metamorphosis. You want to look at your peers, your family, your rivals, and say that you are working on something big. You want them to see the rough outline of the towering structure you are building, so they will preemptively respect the architect. This feels like honesty. It feels like closeness. In reality, it is a catastrophic surrender of your most valuable asset, the element of surprise. Consider the brutal environment of ancient Rome immediately following the assassination of Julius Caesar. The political stage was dominated by hardened, brilliant, ruthless men. Cicero, Mark Antony, the seasoned generals, the unimaginably wealthy senators. When a young, physically frail 18-year-old named Octavian stepped into this lethal arena as Caesar's named heir, the veteran players looked at him and laughed. Mark Antony openly mocked him as a boy who owed everything to a name. Cicero, perhaps the greatest intellectual and orator of the era, confidently wrote him off in private letters as a naive pawn to be praised, used briefly, and swiftly discarded once his utility expired. These were highly intelligent men, undisputed masters of the political game, and they all made the exact same fatal miscalculation. They looked at the young man standing in front of them and concluded that their assessment was complete. They saw the present reality. What they could not see, what was absolutely hidden from their view, was the terrifying man assembling himself in the shadows. Octavian did not argue with their dismissive assessments. He did not puff out his chest and announce his grand intentions to eventually rule the known world. He did not try to convince Mark Antony that he was a formidable, maturing adversary. Instead, he concealed his transformation with chilling discipline. While the Senate debated his irrelevance and the older men mocked his youth, slowly the intelligence, militarism, brutalism, Caesar's veteran legions, militaris precious conditions, and engineering, the precise structural ruler of an empire, that would outlast every make Augustus, the sole and absolute ruler of an empire that would outlast every man who had mocked him. He let them believe he was harmless right up until the exact moment it was mathematically too late for them to adjust their defenses. He weaponized their underestimation. Had he announced his transition, had he demanded to be taken seriously as a budding conqueror, they would have recognized the threat and crushed him before he could mobilize a single legion. This is the cold, unyielding law of transition. The most dangerous version of you is the version that has not yet announced itself. When you allow people to see you in the midst of transitioning, you voluntarily hand them the blueprint of your vulnerabilities. You show them exactly where the wet cement is, and they will inevitably write their names in it. They will locate the precise moment when you are most fragile, that awkward, unstable window, when you are halfway between who you used to be and who you are attempting to become. That halfway point is where you are completely exposed. It is the exact window where discouragement is casually offered disguised as realistic advice. It is where doubt is planted with a sympathetic smile. It is where one well-aimed, precise comment from a friend or a rival can completely hollow out months of quiet, agonizing work. You must understand that people fundamentally do not want you to change. Even those who claim to support your ambitions are subtly unsettled by your evolution, because your evolution forces them to confront their own stagnation. It threatens the established, comfortable dynamic where they knew exactly how to handle you. When you announce your intent to grow, you trigger their psychological immune system. They will instinctively begin to test the foundation of your new endeavor. They will ask questions designed to expose your lack of experience. They will remind you of your past failures under the guise of keeping you grounded. They will systematically dismantle your momentum before it has the chance to generate real mass. But a transformation that arrives in absolute silence bypasses all of this friction. It arrives as an undeniable, overwhelming force. There is no warning, no vulnerable window of attack, no blueprint for them to study, and no counter-narrative prepared in advance. By the time they realize you are no longer the person they used to manipulate, the metamorphosis is already complete, and their old tactics are rendered instantly obsolete. You present them with a finished reality, a closed door that cannot be debated or undermined. But keeping your plans quiet, there is a much deeper layer of symptoms. You are likely bleeding out every single day, handing your opponents the very lens through which you see the world. Gun your counts, but keeping your plans quiet is just the entry-level lesson. There is a much deeper layer of perception you are likely bleeding out every single day, handing your opponents the very lens through which you see the world. Most individuals understand at a rudimentary level that they should conceal their obvious flaws. They hide their mounting financial debts, their deepest psychological insecurities, and their unpolished social edges. But almost no one thinks to hide their sensory apparatus. The second secret you must take to your grave is the specific mechanism of how you read other people. It is a strange, self-destructive quirk of the human ego that we love to brag about our own astuteness. We sit at dinner tables or in boardroom meetings and casually announce our psychological tells. We proudly declare, "I can always spot a liar by their posture," or "I judge a man entirely by how he treats the waitstaff," or "I never trust someone who cannot maintain eye contact during a hard conversation." In our desperate, vanity-driven attempt to sound like master profilers, we give away the proprietary code to our own security system. We believe we are projecting intelligence and establishing social dominance. In reality, we are handing every predator in the room the exact instruction manual on how to bypass our internal alarms. When you explain your diagnostic framework out loud, it instantly becomes worse than useless. It becomes a liability. If you tell an adversary, a colleague, or even a friend that you measure their loyalty based on a specific set of visible behaviors, they will never slip up in that specific category again. They have not magically developed a sudden, deep-seated respect for your values. They have simply learned how to spoof your radar. You have trained them exactly how to counterfeit the virtues you prize most. A person who is performing specifically to pass your announced test is virtually impossible to evaluate because every single data point they feed you is a curated lie. They will manufacture the exact eye contact you demand. They will overtly overtip the waiter while making sure you are watching. And they will present a flawless, sterilized version of themselves, perfectly calibrated to exploit your blind spots. To read the world accurately, your intelligence must remain totally invisible. You must observe without ever letting the subject feel the heavy weight of your gaze. To survive in environments where a single political miscalculation could lead to the guillotine, historical masters of statecraft elevated this concealment to an art form. Consider the legendary survivor of French politics, Charles Maurice de Talleyrand. He navigated the bloody collapse of the monarchy, the paranoia of the Reign of Terror, the aggressive rise of Napoleon Bonaparte, and the subsequent restoration of the Bourbon kings. Regimes that actively slaughtered one another all universally employed him. His genius was not merely his formidable intellect. It was the absolute, impenetrable invisibility of his analytical engine. He cultivated a brilliant, calculated persona of aristocratic lethargy. He often appeared slightly aloof, easily bored, and pleasantly superficial. Because he never announced what he was scrutinizing, the ruthless men in power around him never bothered to guard their true motives in his presence. They believed they were dealing with a predictable, fading aristocrat who lacked the edge to be a threat. They did not realize that while they were confidently projecting dominance, Talleyrand was quietly measuring the exact circumference of their egos, mapping the fragile fault lines in their alliances, and predicting their violent downfalls months in advance. He could read the room at a terrifying frequency, entirely because he never let the room know the frequency existed. When people are unaware of your metrics, they act naturally. They become arrogant. They get sloppy. They leak their true intentions through hundreds of subtle, unfiltered behaviors. Concealing your perception shields your mind, but there is a vulnerability even more tangible that you carry into every negotiation, every business confrontation, and every intimate dispute. The third secret you must bury is the true depth of your patience. You must never, under any circumstances, reveal your relationship with time. In any dynamic where two wills are grinding against one another, time is the ultimate currency. When you expose your timeline, when you let the other side know you need a contract signed by Friday, or that you are emotionally exhausted and desperate for an immediate compromise, you hand them the whip. You have effectively given them a topographical map with a glaring red marker indicating the exact location of your breaking point. Think of the last time you negotiated a salary or tried to navigate out of a toxic personal dynamic. The moment you admitted, "I can't do this much longer," or "I need an answer now," you did not inspire empathy or cooperation. You established a countdown. Urgency is a bleeding wound in the water. Once an opponent smells it, their strategy becomes completely effortless. They do not have to defeat you with a superior argument, a better product, or a fairer offer. They only have to let the relentless ticking of the clock do the violent work for them. They will delay. They will stall. They will invent sudden bureaucratic hurdles, claim they need to consult with unseen partners, or simply become unreachable. They will systematically stretch the silence until your own mounting anxiety forces you to cave in and negotiate against yourself. Conversely, when your timeline is an impenetrable black box, the psychological dynamic violently reverses. When an adversary cannot locate the bottom of your patience, they begin to panic. They project their own internal anxieties into the void you have created. They wonder what hidden leverage you possess that allows you to be so unbothered. A true master of time projects an aura of infinite, chilling endurance. You must appear as someone who could comfortably hold your ground, expressionless and unmoved, for a decade if necessary. The moment you decouple your visible emotions from the ticking clock, time ceases to be your prison and transforms into your most devastating weapon. Let them wonder why you are not rushing. Let their own manufactured urgency break them against the stone wall of your unreadable calm. Yet, mastering your perception and weaponizing time only protects your current, active engagements. The most catastrophic blunders happen not when you are fighting for a position, but when you have secretly decided to leave it. Yet, mastering your perception and weaponizing time only protects your current, active engagements. The most catastrophic blunders happen not when you are fighting for a position, but when you have secretly decided to leave it. We arrive at the fourth secret, the one that involves the most volatile and dangerous transition of power in any relationship or enterprise. You must never reveal who or what you have mentally exited before you are physically prepared to execute the departure. The human mind despises dissonance. When you make the silent, heavy decision that a romantic relationship is dead, that a business partnership has become toxic, or that a current job is leading nowhere, an overwhelming psychological pressure builds up inside you. You feel fraudulent continuing to show up every day, smiling at people you have privately decided to cut off. The immediate, suffocating instinct is to relieve this tension by announcing the exit. We mistake this sudden emotional release for integrity. We convince ourselves that being honest about our fading commitment is the noble, mature path. In reality, announcing a premature exit is a catastrophic surrender of control. The period of time between making the internal decision to sever a tie and actually walking out the door is not a burdensome limbo. It is the most strategically valuable window you will ever inhabit. It is the golden hour of intelligence gathering. Inside this silent gap, you possess something extraordinary and irreplaceable, the appearance of total, unbroken investment without the crippling vulnerability that actual investment creates. You become a ghost in the machine. You are physically present, attending the meetings, nodding at the hollow promises, and observing the social dynamics, but your emotional core is perfectly detached. Because the system still believes it owns you, it continues to operate normally. The people around you drop their guard. They speak freely. They expose their true, unvarnished loyalties, their petty grievances, and the brutal calculations they make when they do not realize they are being evaluated for the final time. They show you exactly who they are when they think they have nothing to lose, completely unaware that they have already lost you. If you violate this silence and announce your intent to leave before you have secured your next position or finalized your extraction plan, the power dynamic instantly violently shifts. You no longer control the narrative. The moment the words, "I think I'm going to quit," or "I'm not sure this relationship is working anymore," leave your mouth, the ecosystem around you instantly begins to defend itself against the shockwave. You transition from an insider to a hostile foreign entity. In a corporate environment, this means you are immediately cut out of vital communication loops. You become a lame duck. Colleagues who were friendly yesterday will begin distancing themselves today, subtly repositioning their own alliances to ensure they are not dragged down in your wake. Management will quietly begin the systematic work of pre-discrediting your tenure, subtly reassigning your achievements to others while highlighting your minor errors, ensuring that when your departure is finalized, it reads on the organizational chart as a mutually beneficial offboarding rather than a painful loss of talent. In a personal relationship, announcing a premature exit is equally destructive. It does not invite rational dialogue or mutual understanding. It invites chaos. It gives the other person time to build a preemptive counter-narrative. They will reach out to mutual friends to frame themselves as the victim of your sudden, erratic behavior before you even have a chance to explain your side. They will begin emotionally divesting, hiding assets, or weaponizing guilt, dragging out a painful negotiation of terms while you are still trapped in close quarters. You give them the time and the ammunition to construct a minefield between you and the exit door. The strategy of the mental exit requires a chilling level of discipline. You must learn to inhabit the uncomfortable space of the phantom. You continue to fulfill your obligations. You maintain a placid, cooperative exterior, and you give absolutely no external indication that the tectonic plates of your life have fundamentally shifted. You spend this silent period methodically packing your bags. You quietly secure your new job offer. You subtly reroute your finances. You meticulously collect the evidence, the contacts, and the resources you will need for the next phase. You engineer the conditions of your departure with surgical precision. When the time finally comes to execute the break, it should not arrive as a proposal, a suggestion, or an opening for further agonizing debate. It must arrive as an unalterable, solidified fact. A silent exit executed perfectly is an act of absolute sovereignty. It leaves the other side reeling, unable to leverage the emotional weight of a prolonged negotiation. The door simply closes with a heavy, final click, and as the old proverb goes, a closed door cannot be bargained with. You preserve your energy, your reputation, and your upper hand. This silent exit protects your autonomy and your momentum as you move forward. But to prevent people from dragging you back into the mud before you vanish, or exploiting you while you are still present, you must ruthlessly guard the most easily weaponized number in your life. This silent exit protects your autonomy and your momentum as you move forward. But to prevent people from dragging you back into the mud before you vanish, or exploiting you while you are still present, you must ruthlessly guard the most easily weaponized number in your life. The fifth secret, perhaps the most pragmatic and immediately applicable on this list, is that you must never, under any circumstance, reveal your absolute floor. The floor is the bedrock of your tolerance. It is the quantifiable minimum you will accept before you finally, irrevocably walk away. It is the lowest salary you will take to avoid unemployment. It is the absolute bare minimum level of respect you will endure from a partner before you pack your bags. It is the smallest concession you will accept to finally close a grueling, drawn-out negotiation. It is the hard, cold line where your survival instinct overrides your desire to compromise. We are often tempted to reveal this number, or this emotional baseline, out of a misplaced sense of exhaustion or a naive hope for efficiency. In a salary negotiation, you might think, if I just tell them the lowest number I can afford to live on, they'll see I'm being reasonable, and we can skip the posturing. In a personal conflict, you might scream, if you lie to me one more time, we are done. We believe that by clearly demarcating the edge of the cliff, we are warning the other person to stay away from it. This is a profound misunderstanding of human nature, particularly predatory human nature. When you reveal your floor, you are not establishing a boundary that demands respect. You are drawing a target. Extensive research in behavioral economics and negotiation dynamics consistently demonstrates a terrifying pattern. When one party reveals their walk-away point, the opposing party does not suddenly become generous out of gratitude for the transparency. They immediately calibrate their offers to land precisely on that floor. If you tell a prospective employer that you absolutely cannot accept less than $70,000, the ensuing offer will miraculously be exactly $70,000. You have just announced the absolute minimum price required to purchase your compliance. Why would any rational, self-interested entity offer a single dollar more? You have voluntarily capped your own potential, transforming your desperate minimum into their maximum expenditure. The psychological application of this rule in personal relationships is even more sinister. Your emotional floor, the absolute minimum standard of treatment you will tolerate as the most consistently exploited piece of data in human interaction. When you tell a toxic partner, an overbearing boss, or an opportunistic friend precisely where your self-respect draws the final line, you have handed them a detailed, high-resolution map of your psychological limits. The most predatory people in your life will not look at that map and retreat. They will use it to march right up to the very edge of the precipice, perfectly balancing their behavior just a fraction of an inch before the line that would trigger severe consequences. They will belittle you, drain your energy, and push your patience to the absolute brink. And then, right before you pull the cord, they will retreat just enough to keep the relationship intact. They will offer a minor apology, a brief period of good behavior, or a small concession. And the cycle will begin again. They walk to the line, they stop, they reset. They walk to the line, they stop, they reset. They can execute this exhausting, manipulative cycle indefinitely because you gave them the exact coordinates of the boundary. They know exactly how far they can stretch the rubber band without snapping it. You are extracted from at maximum capacity, permanently, because you foolishly drew your boundaries in visible ink. The floor only functions as a protective fortress as long as its exact location remains entirely unknown to the enemy. The moment they discover where it is, the architecture flips. It stops being a floor that supports you and instantly becomes a ceiling that suppresses you the highest possible standard you will ever be able to hold them to, locked permanently into place by your own admission. You must train yourself to negotiate from a position of detached strength, floating an unreadable distance above your actual baseline. Let them wildly overestimate what it will cost to keep you. Let them guess where the tripwire is hidden in the dark. Burying your limits keeps you safe from constant, calculated extraction. But maintaining this imposing, unreadable fortress requires a constant, silent flow of hidden information. And exposing where that information comes from will leave you permanently blind in the dark. Burying your limits keeps you safe from constant, calculated extraction. But maintaining this imposing, unreadable fortress requires a constant, silent flow of hidden information, and exposing where that information comes from will leave you permanently blind in the dark. This brings us to the sixth secret, a law that governs not what you know, but the hidden architecture of how you came to know it. You must never reveal the source of your insight or intelligence. In every organization, in every social hierarchy, and in every familial dynamic, there is a distinct difference between the person who merely gossips and the person who actually governs. The gossip treats information as a cheap currency to be traded for a fleeting hit of dopamine and 5 minutes of undivided attention. They rush to the nearest ear and proudly announce, "You will never believe what Sarah just told me in confidence." The strategist, however, treats information as radioactive material. They understand that the raw data itself is only half the asset. The other half, the far more valuable half, is the secure, undetected pipeline through which that data traveled. There is a profound, ego-driven temptation to reveal your sources. We desperately want to prove to the room that we are plugged into the mainframe. We want to demonstrate our proximity to power, to casually name-drop a senior executive, or to subtly imply that we have the ear of someone important. We think that by revealing our access to high-level whisper networks, we are elevating our own status. In reality, we are committing an act of strategic suicide. The moment you expose a source to prove a point, you trigger an immediate, irreversible chain reaction that destroys your own leverage. First, the person who confided in you will inevitably discover that you are a porous vessel. They shared a fragile piece of reality with you, expecting it to be locked in a vault, and you put it on a billboard to massage your own ego. They will never trust you with premium, actionable intelligence again. You have permanently severed a vital artery of information for a momentary social flex. Second, and far more dangerously, the people you shared the source with no longer have any use for you. You have fundamentally misunderstood your own value in the equation. Your power did not stem from the fact that you knew the secret. Your power stemmed from the fact that you were the exclusive gatekeeper to the person who provided it. The moment you say, "The Vice President of Finance told me they are planning layoffs," you have removed yourself as the middleman. The next time your colleagues want to know what is happening, they will not come to you. They will bypass you entirely and attempt to ingratiate themselves directly with the Vice President. You have handed them the map to the gold mine and politely stepped out of their way. You trade an entire permanent infrastructure of future intelligence for one singular, pathetic moment of looking like you are in the know. To understand the terrifying power of compartmentalized intelligence, we must look to Joseph Fouché, the infamous Minister of Police during the French Revolution and the reign of Napoleon Bonaparte. Fouché is perhaps the most resilient political survivor in human history. He survived the bloody purges of the Reign of Terror, the chaotic Directory, the absolute dictatorship of Napoleon, and the subsequent restoration of the very monarchy he had previously helped overthrow. Regimes that actively executed one another universally found themselves utterly dependent on Fouché. His power was not derived from military might or charismatic leadership. It was derived from an invisible, omniscient web of spies, informants, and compromised aristocrats. He knew the debts, the secret affairs, and the treasonous whispers of every single player in Paris. But Fouché's true genius was that he never, under any circumstances, revealed the nodes of his network. Even Napoleon, a man who conquered a continent, was deeply terrified of Fouché. Napoleon demanded to know how his minister was so perfectly informed, demanding the names of the spies. Fouché always refused, presenting his intelligence not as a collection of reports from vulnerable humans, but as pure, undeniable facts pulled from the ether. He knew that if he handed over his sources to prove his loyalty, Napoleon would simply absorb the network, buy off the informants, and have Fouché executed as a redundant threat. By keeping the origins of his intelligence completely submerged in darkness, Fouché maintained a monopoly on reality. No one could dismantle a network they could not map. No one could blind a man when they did not know where his eyes were located. He cultivated an aura of dark, supernatural omniscience simply by erasing the footprints of his information. You must apply this exact ruthless compartmentalization to your own life. You must become a black hole for secrets. When high-value information reaches you, you must immediately strip it of its metadata. You divorce the fact from the face that delivered it. If you learn of a pending market shift from an indiscreet investor, you do not repeat the investor's name. You launder the intelligence. You present your subsequent actions as the result of your own quiet intuition or independent market analysis. Looking at the macroeconomic trends, I've decided to reposition my portfolio. You act on the shadow without ever acknowledging the object casting it. When people cannot map your information supply chain, they are forced to project an aura of supreme competence and unnerving intuition onto you. They will wonder how you always manage to step out of the way right before the hammer falls. They will fear your foresight because it appears to have no earthly origin. The intelligence itself is merely the surface water. The source is the deep, subterranean aquifer. If you lose the surface, you are thirsty for a day. If you expose and poison the aquifer, you die of drought. You must let people assume you simply know things, letting the mystery of your perception serve as its own intimidation. Cultivate a quiet, unnameable paranoia in those who would oppose you, letting them realize that you see the board clearly, but denying them any understanding of how high you are standing to get the view. All these layers of armor the silent transformation, the masked perception, the buried floor, and the hidden sources are unbreakable, provided you do not violate the one overarching rule that Machiavelli himself tragically failed to obey. All these layers of armor the silent transformation, the masked perception, the buried floor, and the hidden sources are unbreakable, provided you do not violate the one overarching rule that Machiavelli himself tragically failed to obey. You must never, under any circumstances, reveal that you are operating by any of these rules. This is the master key, the invisible mortar that holds the entire imposing architecture of your power together. If you master the first 6 secrets, but fail at the 7th, you have built a magnificent, impenetrable fortress, but you have foolishly left the drawbridge fully lowered and positioned a blinding spotlight directly on the vault. The greatest, most consistent weakness of the intellectually ambitious is an insatiable vanity. We study the hidden dynamics of power. We observe the darker aspects of human nature, and we carefully integrate these profound psychological truths into our behavior. But then, intoxicated by our own newfound clarity and hungry for recognition, we simply cannot resist the urge to let the world know how brilliantly we see the board. We drop subtle, knowing hints in casual conversation. We offer overly cynical, penetrating analyses of our peers' social maneuvering. We implicitly announce that we are playing 3-dimensional chess while everyone else is stumbling through checkers. This is the exact trap of ego that utterly destroyed Niccolò Machiavelli. After being exiled, imprisoned, and physically tortured following the collapse of the Florentine Republic, he was desperate to reclaim his rightful position in the unforgiving political arena. In 1513, he poured his genius into writing The Prince, dedicating it to Lorenzo de' Medici. He believed, with a tragic, almost touching naivety, that by explicitly laying out his unparalleled understanding of statecraft, deception, and the ruthless mechanics of human manipulation, the Medici family would recognize his indispensable brilliance and immediately hire him as a senior political advisor. He was dead wrong. The Medici never employed him, and he spent the remaining 14 years of his life in bitter political exile, never again holding an ounce of real power. The very book that was intended to serve as a resume of his supreme competence instead became the unassailable evidence of his supreme danger. The Medici read his masterful treatise and drew the only logical, self-preserving conclusion. A man who understands the architecture of manipulation with this terrifying precision can never, ever be trusted. How could they possibly employ a counselor who had just enthusiastically handed them a detailed manual on how to deceive, betray, and outmaneuver a sovereign? Machiavelli's fatal flaw was not a misunderstanding of power. His fatal flaw was that he wrote it down. Modern psychological research into human behavior confirms exactly what Machiavelli learned the hard way. When people perceive you as someone who strategically withholds information, even if that withheld information is entirely benign, you become a permanent social liability in their eyes. The perception of secrecy is in itself a threat. The moment an adversary, a friend, or an intimate partner realizes that you carefully and consciously curate your disclosures, they strip you of the most valuable social currency in existence, the assumption of sincerity. Once that baseline assumption of sincerity is gone, the entire dynamic collapses. You can no longer read people accurately because they are no longer reacting to their own instincts. They are actively defending against yours. Every warm smile you offer is suddenly heavily scrutinized as a potential tactic. Every moment of quiet reflection is interpreted as a dark calculation. You trigger an exhausting, perpetual state of paranoia in everyone around you, ensuring that they will always keep their psychological shields raised and their true motives permanently buried. The first 6 secrets function effectively exclusively within an environment where people believe you to be fundamentally open, entirely natural, and completely unstrategic. The highest, most terrifying level of strategy, therefore, is the flawless, unbroken illusion of total, unstrategic naturalness. You must construct a persona well-lit, inviting front porch where you graciously receive the world. Let them sit on the porch. Let them enjoy the view. Let them believe, with absolute certainty, that the porch is the entirety of the house. Meanwhile, the hidden machinery, where your actual calculations, your judgments, and your transformations take place remains completely submerged in the basement. The goal is not to appear closed off, mysterious, or intensely guarded. Appearing closed is highly suspicious. The goal is to appear so effortlessly open, so comfortably vulnerable, that no one would ever think to look for a hidden compartment. The woman who seems to playfully overshare her minor daily anxieties, the man who laughs easily and appears to wear his heart on his sleeve, they have truly mastered this final law. They are the most dangerous entities in any room. They execute this by offering decoy flaws. They will hand you a small, slightly embarrassing truth about themselves, a minor failure, a fleeting insecurity that makes them seem incredibly human and fallible. You consume this trivial truth, you feel a deep sense of empathetic connection, and your critical thinking is immediately bypassed. You are so charmed by the decoy that you remain completely blind to the massive structural realities they are burying in the dark. Every apparent moment of visible vulnerability is a coldly calculated investment. Every spontaneous disclosure is a precisely engineered gift designed to lower your heart rate. The concealment must itself be completely concealed. You do not simply hide your weapon under your coat. You walk with the relaxed, open, unburdened posture of a person who has never even held a weapon in their life. Now, hold the full, terrifying architecture of this silence in your mind. The profound transformation you are quietly undergoing, the invisible lens through which you analyze the weakness of others, the bottomless, unreadable well of your patience, the silent exit you are currently plotting, the absolute floor you will never let them cross, and the subterranean network of your intelligence. All of these protections hold perfectly, permanently, and effortlessly as long as no one suspects they exist. The moment you demand credit for your cleverness, the entire structure burns to the ground. You now possess the blueprint. You understand the absolute necessity of the void. Learn from the brilliant minds who came before us, but refuse to repeat their fatal, ego-driven mistakes. Close the heavy doors to the hidden rooms of your mind and throw away the key. And if you are finally ready to explore the deeper, darker mechanics of human psychology, the unfiltered blueprints and unvarnished truths that are deemed far too unsettling for the sanitized, heavily monitored algorithms of this public platform, the link to the inner circle is waiting below. The system was designed from the ground up to keep you predictable, visible, and infinitely manageable. Do not give them the satisfaction,